Yeah, I just want to give first of all giving all praises due to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. Another episode of Performing Arts, Brother Shemai Basar, and I want to get into um what this brother Malak Abar went into over the weekend. Men of Mighty War, and that video should be dropping in maybe 2 or 3 days. But Mighty Men, I believe that's the title of it, Mighty Men. But what happened to the mighty men of Israel? What happened to us? You know, brothers is soft, okay? And what I don't mean just soft in combat, like not can using their hands, but I mean soft in the spirit, like they sellouts, you know what I'm saying? They Uncle Toms, you know what I'm saying? They're not for their people, you know what I'm saying? I guess that's due to not loving themselves. And why they don't love themselves? Because they don't have these commandments. You know, so that was a good breakdown this brother did, you know. And it's just talking about like what happened, like how we used to fight with mighty war. It gave a breakdown on the tribes or what we would do in ancient time. Even King David, how he had hen's feet. But what happened to the men? Okay. But I also wanted to throw this also too to elaborate on that about the Cowboys. Okay. How we had the Cowboys in those days too, and what we used to do. And when you think about it, America or wherever the Israelites are scattered abroad, they in the Wild Wild West because our life is at stake at always. Our life is at stake. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know what's going to happen. So this is the Wild Wild West for us right now as we speak and as we talk. You know what I'm saying? As we walk in this society, this is the Wild Wild West for us. You know, so even in this Wild Wild West, we gotta be mighty men. So what happened to the mighty men? Okay, because our life is at stake. Because this is the Wild Wild West, but the system is playing duck hunt with Israel, with the men of Israel lives, with the whole nation, not just the men of Israel, with the whole nation. They're playing with our lives. You know, so it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Okay, and the brothers are soft today. You know. Okay. Now, concerning the black cowboys, which were warriors, okay, I wanted to go over this. I want to share this article. Okay. It says the most common image of the cowboy is a gun-toting, boot-wearing white man like John Wayne or Clint Eastwood. But the Hollywood portrayal of the Wild Wild West is a whitewashed version of the reality. It is thought that on some Texas trails, about a quarter of cowboys were black. Okay. Now it was another episode, another thing in here that I wanted to read. That I had it, but I don't know where it's at. Okay, look at this anyway. Okay. Now, when I mean black, just to let you know, it was also so-called misnomer names such as Mexican, which I say are black, which is my people, which is so-called a Salvadorian, which is another misnomer name, a Salvadorian, so-called Colombians. Okay, all different shades of brown. Okay, so let's get that right. Okay, now where was it at? Yeah, let's read a little bit of this. Okay, let's go into this one. Okay, hold on. And this is you can go deeper in this, but I just want to start with this for myself. Okay? It says the New York City Federation of Black Cowboys is a New York City-based U.S. organization dedicated to keeping alive the memory of tradition of African American cowboys from the Old West. They are based out of the Hole and Outer Barrow neighborhood of New York City. Okay, now that's on that. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Okay, there was one I had here earlier. Let's look at this one right here. Okay, listen to this. BBC Magazine, British Broadcasting Company, Americans Forgotten Black Cowboys by Sarfraz Manzoor, March 22nd, 2013. Quentin Tarantino's Oscar-winning Western Django Unchained is one of relative few Hollywood films depicting a black cowboy. In reality, there were many. Some of whose stories were borrowed from films starring white actors. The most common image of the cowboy as a gun-toting, boot-wearing white man like John Wayne or Clint Eastwood. But the Hollywood portrayal of the Wild Wild West is a whitewashed version of the reality. It is thought that on some Texas trails, although a quarter of cowboys were black in the real Old West, as opposed to the film depiction, black cowboys was a common sight. Whoa. Black cowboys often had the job of breaking horses that hadn't been ridden much, says Mike Shirles, a retired professor of history at Augusta State University. Black cowboys were also chuck wagon cooks, and they were known for being songsters, helping the cattle stay calm, he says. Shirles says his research, which include poring over interviews with ex-slaves in the 1930s, suggested black cowboys benefited from what he calls range equality. I don't know what the hell that is. As a cowboy, you had to have a degree of independence. He says you could not have an overseer that had to go on a horseback, and they may be gone for days. Life was nevertheless harder for black cop. Check it out. Life was nevertheless harder. Pardon me for 1 second. Get a little water. Life was nevertheless harder for black cowboys than for their white counterparts. Same thing in the four corners of the world. Okay? America, but all other countries where we are scattered abroad. It's hard, okay, for us. Okay? Life was nevertheless harder for black cowboys than for their white counterparts. Vincent Jacobs, 80, a former rodeo rider who lives near Houston, Texas, recalls the racism that faced when he was starting out. There would be separate rodeos for blacks and whites, he says. It was hard, real hard. They would only let me perform after all the white people had been let out of the arena. Okay? Being a black cowboy was hard work, agrees 88-year-old Cleveland Walters, who lives just outside the town of Liberty, Texas. I hate to think of the racism I went through. When I was branding time, they put 20 cows in the pen. And I was one who had to catch them and hold them down. Okay? And that's the picture. Okay? You can read a lot of this on your own, though. Okay? Look at that. Just going through it. Now, I also have a magazine called The Golden Legacy, and it's Illustrated History magazine, and the name of this one is Volume 12. It's called Black Cowboys. But okay, and this one, let me see when this thing was written. 1972. All right, so this is like a little classic. I got a couple of these, but I wanted to share this with y'all because I wanted to read this to y'all. All right. It says black cowboys, when the gun smoke and the dust of the cattle herds lifted somewhere along the trail, some 5,000 black cowboys were lost by our historians. Writers of Western fiction, along with the producers of Western movies, had ignored the black cowhand. However, the facts show that black men also rode the cattle trails and were heroes and villains too, as they faced all the dangers and hardships of a cowboy's life. This book tells the stories of but a few of these men. See? All right. Now, one part that I want to read to you is, hold on. Where is it at? Okay, let me just give you a little small of this. You know? The West had its share of outlaws. This one didn't wear a black hat or ride a black horse, but he had a black face. He was often compared to Billy the Kid. While not as famous, he was certainly as dangerous. The name of him is Cherokee Bill. Cherokee Bill's real name was Crawford Goldsby. He was born in 1876 at Fort Concho. Okay? It says, wanted dead or alive. When he was 14 years old, he won his first gunfight. Okay. Boy's a killer. All right. Okay, he joined a gang of outlaws. Together, they robbed stagecoaches, trains, and banks. Cherokee Bill also rode through the West terrorizing its citizens. Okay, so they don't tell you that. But my point is, you know, I mean, even if that was in a negative sight, you know what I'm saying, it still shows you that we had that war mentality. Okay? We had that war mentality, you know, and we were warriors. And being a warrior doesn't mean like on the block, you know what I'm saying, selling drugs and knocking a nigga out. You know what I'm saying, warring against your own people. Even though we had black and black crime, or, you know, even in the Bible days, you know what I'm saying, the tribes going against tribes. But my whole thing is we was a warriors. Now, a lot of days, our men are not warriors. They don't know what, they don't have anything to stand for. They just lost. So when the brother Malaka Bar, hold on. Brother Malaka Bar, all right. And today we're going to go quick to the point. I'm going to ask the brother. Okay, let's get into it a little bit more. Okay.
Shall we be off then? If they turn, hold them and push them back. Where are the foes worthy to meet me?
Perhaps you should have our war tomorrow when you're better rested.
These are men for stand for something.
I should have you whipped for your impudence. Perhaps you should fight him. Achilles. Achilles. Look at the men's faces. You can save hundreds of them. You can end this war with a swing of your sword. Let them go home to their wives. Imagine a king who fights his own battles.
You hear that? Imagine a king who fights his own battles.
Of all the warlords loved by the gods, I hate him the most.
Is there no one else? Is there no one else?
Now, just let me make this plain and simple, okay, and get to the point. Now, the reason why I just want to to collaborate on this. Now, the reason why you're saying the mighty men of Israel, when I said that Malak Bar did that breakdown on it, that what happened to the men, the mighty men of Israel, the warriors, why have we come so low? Because we lost in tune with our Heavenly Father. Okay? Now, when I use the background of black cowboys, or colored cowboys, because we're different shades of brown, is because even then, we were hardcore. Okay? We were hardcore. But let me just take this a little deeper in depth. Now, as I said before, when I say now, what happened to the mighty men, I don't mean just with hands and in combat. I mean in the spirit of Mashiach Yahushua. And the reason why that is the first foundation, because even when King David had said, the Most High showed me how to bend iron, and make my feet to kick like hen's feet, which is martial arts, right? He leaned on the Most High. Okay? He leaned on the Most High. And even with these, the black cowboys being washed out or whatever like that, we are special people. But even with them and that legacy with the black cowboys, and just to let you know, add a little edification on that, how we roaming in America, in the wild, wild west, wherever we are scattered, okay? Being shoot down and hunt down, okay? So we in wild, wild west all over again. But why? Because we don't believe in Yahushua, okay? We lost tune with our spirituality, which is our Heavenly Father, okay? And therefore, your mighty men today have become weak because your mighty men don't have a rock to lean on, which is the scriptures. I'm going to close it out with 1 John 5:4. Whosoever believe that Yahushua is the Christ is born of God, and everyone that love him that begot, love him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of the Most High, when we love the Most High and keep his commandments. Okay? For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. For whatsoever is born of God overcome the world. And that's why we in the our mind. Okay? For whatsoever is born of God overcome the world. And this is the victory. We want that victory. You have to believe in Mashiach Yahushua, which is the Lord's statutes and commandments. For whosoever is born of the God overcome the world. And this is the victory that overcome the world, even our faith. Who is he that overcome the world? But he that believed that Mashiach Yahushua is the Son of God. That's it. Depend on our chief cornerstone. Okay? That's our foundation. If not, you're going to be in oppression like you're in today, roaming around the world, the four corners of the world, wherever the Most High scattered us at, in the wild, wild west, being hunted down and murdered. So to be strong and to be mighty men back in the ancient time is to come back to your rock, the chief cornerstone, All praises due to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. Shalom.